Do you
A
think
major
that
factor.
the young black male has gone too far
What you mean it's gone too far?
to be helped?
I don't think so. I think that there's plenty of work to be done. Uh, Even in, if we start in the homes, if we could get that black father to go to school, and talk to the teachers and be more concerned about that kid coming home at night doing his homework than playing basketball. Now he'll go to the basketball games or football games and things like that, but a lot of times the black father does not go to the
Church.
parent teachers
Right.
meetings. They don't do it. So the kid gets that impression right away. Well, his whole reward will be what I do on the basketball court or the football field.
Do you think kids, let's say like right here in Jefferson County, are at an advantage because they are exposed to various ethnic groups, various groups are all
Possibly.
together here, and parents. I remember first integration. Black parents had a strange feeling about going to the white schools to talk to the teachers. Didn't know how they were going to be, received and this type of thing. As opposed to when we had all black schools, they came, they knew, But once integration, I don't think that, and I'm sure this had to do with white teachers also. Didn't seem to welcome them, when they wanted to come and talk. But now it seems a little different.
Well, Jim, yeah, back then it was, but then it became a class thing. Uh, we, talking from the African American viewpoint about being shortchanged, but there's a whole lot of the poor white kids being ripped off just as bad as we are, or even worse, in the school system. And yeah, they are. And I guess what I think about when you mention the fact about our kids being messed over, our society more or less lend itself to it. I read the paper this morning, and in the Journal Junction, and they complain about kids on a little league football team on a Wednesday night. You got a football game starting at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock for junior high school kids on little league. How in the world can we expect our kids to get ahead? Got them out there in the middle of the school week playing football at 8 o'clock at night, where they should be home studying someplace. And yet they also got to practice. And I guess like I said, and we got parents that jump for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about them being in school and getting homework and so forth, we are pushing the athletics. And the black parents are just as, white parents are just as guilty as black parents. I've always been disturbed when I used to go to the school with my grandkids. I very seldom saw any black parents there. Very seldom. May see one or two of them. But then when I go down to the little league team, that's all you see. A whole bunch of them there coaching and howling and hooping, and they've put more emphasis on sports than they put on academics. But I think that, yeah, we are stressing the African American kids, being messed over, which they are to a certain extent. And we are part of it, and schools are part of it, and the church is part of it. But I also know that the white kids, those that are less fortunate and low income, they are being messed over also. But a good example is the dropout rate of the white students is higher than the black students.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes,
You know,
always has been. And the discipline problem, I understand, going before the master court with the school problem is higher white kids and black kids. So they are being messed over. They are just more or less like a solid majority out there. Nobody, solid minority. No one see them, so they leave them alone. It just so happened that we are willing to talk about how black kids are being screwed over.
Well, in connection with that, we've just gotten some test results back from the county uh, Board of Education, and it doesn't paint a very, very bright picture of our kids' progress in the schools at this particular point. And I think if we look at all of this education at the state level, we see our kids probably doing a little bit less than they should be doing. And I think that's the reason we keep saying a lot of its inspiration and push ought to be coming from somewhere. And one of those places is from the pulpit. And our clergy just don't see a need for, education of the children at this point. I think they're more interested in mega-sized churches and things like that, which don't, which really don't help the community. They might help them, salary-wise or something like that. But you don't want to keep pushing, a congregation when your young people are suffering. You just don't do that. So there's a lot of work that we've got to do in the community. A whole bunch of work.
I think I don't know if we'll ever get back to the way it was when we were coming up, as far as ministers getting involved and all that type of stuff. I don't think we'll ever get back there again. I think we're too far.
Well, I think we're responsible for it.
I was going to say the same thing.
We're responsible because a minister can only do what we let them do, including myself, and we have let them get away with murder, and now we are complaining. And it can be hard to range them in. We pay the salary, We pay the salary, and if we but then the public or members got to stick together and know what they really want, not being brainwashed. And that's the biggest thing. That lots of them get brainwashed, and will go along with anything the minister said, and they just think because the minister said it's gospel. And well, let's face it, lots of people just don't want to think for themselves. If you go back in biblical time, the people in Israel kept on saying, we got to have a king. We got to have someone to lead us. They didn't want to go up without a king. So therefore, the Lord gave them a king. You know what I mean? That's the same way it is with the churches or the black churches. They feel like they got to have someone to lead them. They got to have a black minister there to tell them exactly what to do and what not to do. And there's nothing wrong with having a person there, but that person has to be fair and know what's going on in his own self, not in it just for his own benefit. But no, I think it's our own fault. We hired them, and we paid their salary, and lots of them make more money than most of their congregation, live in bigger houses, bigger cars, and got membership that is hardly making it.
Well, I think they take over a leadership vacuum, in the churches and probably in the community. And that's the reason I said a few minutes back that a lot of our people who are going to college, coming back with degrees, they ought to be the ones that's stepping into the leadership positions, going to the school board, seeing what's going on here, seeing what's going on there. And we don't have, it just seems like once they get that degree, they kind of lay down. And of course, they look at the football games on Sunday, the basketball games, things like that. But I think that once you get an education, you come back to a community, you don't sit down. That's the time to start working.
Good example. Talbot was a state president, NAACP, for 25 years, and he probably didn't go into president until he was in his late 50s, probably. And nowhere in the world Talbot should have been going into president at that age. There should have been somebody that already finished college at 25 or 30 years old, 30 or even early 40s, that should take no NAACP at that stage and run it. Correct. But as a result, they had to fall back on an older person to do it. Not that anything wrong for you, what you did, but I'm trying. You talking about leadership? These guys got out of college that had really got there because of what has been done for them. They should have been taken over.